Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly. This is the Real Sports Talk. Thank you guys for tuning in. And the NBA playoffs certainly going on right now, but we're going to take a break from game action right now and get into a news story that came out today, and that is Phil Jackson, who I'm basically going to read part of an article from KingJamesGospel.com. It is a fan-sided website. I also work for Fansided as the editor of Section 215, so I found this article on there. And it's talking about Phil Jackson's new book, where he gets into the fact that he had the chance to coach two of the guys that people consider two of the top 5 number 2 guards in NBA history, and Michael Jordan when he was with the Chicago Bulls, and Kobe Bryant when he was with the Los Angeles Lakers. So the LA Times, according to this article, the book has not been released, but the LA Times has gotten a hold of a copy and shared some interesting quotes from Phil Jackson's new book on Kobe Bryant versus Michael Jordan. So let me just read off a few of these and give you my reaction, because I think a lot of people are overreacting to this, and I'm not necessarily sure they have a very good case. So the first part is, Michael was more charismatic and gregarious than Kobe. He loved hanging out with his teammates and security guards, playing cards, smoking cigars, and joking around. And in reality, I don't care if Kobe Bryant hangs out with his teammates, hangs out with security guards. It probably does make you a little bit better of a teammate, but overall, that's just Phil Jackson filling out pages in his book. I don't look at that as a shot at Kobe. I think that I was listening to Chris Broussard earlier talk about this on he was in for Scott Van Pelt today on the SVP and Rosillo show, and he basically said that Kobe Bryant earlier in his career was a guy that was a little more laid back, kept to himself, and that he has expanded his horizons, but that early on in his career he was kind of the type of player that kept to himself, and Michael Jordan was never really that type of guy. Now the second statement is, no question, Michael was a tougher, more intimidating defender. He could break through virtually any screen and shut down almost any player with his intense, laser-focused style of defense. And Kobe Bryant has been a good defender throughout the course of his career. Early on, I think he was a much better defender. This year, and really the last 2 or 3 years, I've noticed he takes a lot of plays off defensively, and he's really declined overall as a defender. I don't know whether that is because he's aging and decides that I only have so much energy, I'm going to use it offensively, or whether he's just being lazy defensively, or a little bit of both. But the bottom line is that I've gone back, I've watched tape of Michael Jordan play. I saw the end of his career with the last year or two with the Chicago Bulls, and then the last 2 seasons with the Washington Wizards. So I've seen some of it, and then I've gone back and watched, and there's no question that Michael Jordan was a much tougher, more physical defender. Now, the one thing that I would say in Kobe Bryant's defense is that hand-checking was allowed in the NBA during all of Michael Jordan's career. For Kobe Bryant, in the better part of his defensive career, it was allowed, but since, I believe, 01, 02, somewhere around there, hand-checking has been taken out of the game, which does make it a little bit tougher, perimeter-wise, to be a defender. Now, the third quote from Phil Jackson is, Michael was stronger with bigger shoulders and a sturdier frame. He also had large hands, allowed him to control the ball and make better subtle fakes. So, I mean, that's one that I don't really have much of a reaction to. The final quote is that Jordan was also more naturally inclined to let the game come to him and not overplay his hand, whereas Kobe tends to force the action, especially when the game isn't going his way. When his shot is off, Kobe will pound away relentlessly until his luck turns. Michael, on the other hand, would shift his attention to defense or passing or setting screens to help the team win the game. And this, to me, is the most interesting quote in not only this book, but in the entire basketball landscape that I've heard over the last few years, because not only does it have ramifications on the comparison between Michael Jordan versus Kobe Bryant, but it also has comparison or ramifications on LeBron James and a few other things. But let me get to my opinion on Jordan versus Bryant. The first part here says Jordan was more naturally inclined to let the game come to him, and Kobe will pound away even when he's struggling until he gets hot. And I think that that's clear if you've watched either of these two guys play. And again, I'm not taking shots at Kobe Bryant. I think Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players to ever step on an NBA basketball court. I do think that the media overrates him, but I certainly have a lot of respect for Kobe Bryant. I'm a Kobe Bryant I like Kobe Bryant. I wouldn't say I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I'm a Sixers fan. I'm not a fan of anyone else, but I'm a fan of watching great players. So I like watching Kobe Bryant. I like watching Kevin Durant. I like watching LeBron James. And I have respect for what Kobe's done in his career. But there's no question that there's times where Kobe Bryant would have been better off passing the ball, deferring to some of his teammates. And I know there's times in his career, the 05-06 era, the post-Shaq, pre-Gasol era, where that wasn't necessarily the Lakers' best option. I understand that. But early in this year, a lot of people tried to paint it as, well, Kobe Bryant is playing on a team where Dwight Howard's just a bum, Pau Gasol's over the hill, and he's just all out there by himself. In reality, they didn't have a lot of chemistry early on, and I think that Kobe Bryant, had he deferred early on like he did middle of the season when people began to say, oh, well now Kobe's doing all this great passing, he's just taking his game to another level. In reality, he should have been doing that from the get-go. He should have been more that team player type of guy early on last season, and the Lakers would have been better off. Instead, he tried to will them to win certain games, and it worked. He had 5 straight games of 40 points. It worked certain times. But as an overall thing, I think that Michael Jordan had the opportunity with a better overall team around him. Maybe not better overall talent. I mean, you look at the Lakers right now, they have 3 Hall of Famers with Dwight, Nash, and Kobe, but all of them, Dwight hasn't been healthy. I don't think he was healthy 100% at all last year. Steve Nash is 39 years old and just really did not fit in with the Lakers last year. And then Kobe Bryant is 35 years old. So there is that to be taken into account, but there's no question that Michael Jordan is a better shooter. You look at the point, or at Michael Jordan shooting nearly 50% in his career, 49.7%, and Kobe Bryant in his career shoots just over 45% at 45.4%. You look at the three-point percentage where Kobe Bryant's 33% and Michael Jordan is a little bit lower than Kobe Bryant, so Kobe Bryant has him there. But overall, there's so many games where I've looked at Kobe Bryant over the last few years, whether it was with Dwight Howard, with Andrew Bynum, where Kobe was struggling through the first 3 quarters, and in the 4th quarter, he just tried to shoot the Lakers back into the game, because early on, he had shot them out of the game. And there's times where I've seen it work, and then there's times where it's been extremely frustrating to watch, because I'll see Andrew Bynum, I'll see Dwight Howard down in the post with a mismatch that the Lakers should have exploited, and maybe you can make a case that you didn't want the game in the hands of Dwight Howard at the free throw line, but Andrew Bynum is a damn good free throw shooter, and there were so many times where I see Kobe shooting fadeaway threes over double teamers or double teams. I don't know what I'm saying, double teamers. And it was just like, you don't need to do this. You are better off getting the ball to your teammate and having him do the work. You'll get the credit for the assist. And I think that that's somewhere where, as an NBA culture, the NBA landscape, that we've really become flawed, is that we think that the best player always has to take the last shot, always has to do this, always has to make the big play. In reality, the people that say that, I really look at them and I think, did you ever play a team sport? Because you know that when you're out there, yeah, you want to be that last person to take that last shot and get all the publicity and credit. There's no doubt about it. But there are times where you're not having a good day, where you're not feeling it as a shooter, or where you see a teammate that has a better matchup down below in the post, that, quite frankly, he's your better option. You know that, he knows that, and that's the best option for the team that specific day. And it doesn't mean that you're shying away from wanting to be the best. It doesn't mean that you're choking in the clutch. It means that simply you understand that you're not having a great day that day, and you're giving the ball to a teammate who you think gives your team, which is the ultimate goal to win the game, a better opportunity. And I think that Phil Jackson really points that out here. And it really leads me to go to the whole LeBron James thing. The fact that he's been criticized so many times in his career for giving up passes, giving up late-game shots. One comes to mind with Udonis Haslem against Utah, I believe it was last year. Last second shot, LeBron's at the foul with the man on him, fakes a shot, gives a pass to Haslem. Haslem should have hit the shot. And while LeBron James, I think everyone would have agreed that you're the star, you probably should have taken it, he made the correct basketball play, because at that point, while he had been hot in the 4th quarter, he had not had a great game up to that point. And it was understandable in my mind that LeBron James felt like me over someone is when I'm not as good a shooter as some of the other guys like Michael Jordan, or even when Kobe Bryant, when he gets hot, even though percentage-wise he's much higher than Kobe Bryant. I think that making that pass made sense at the time, and people they're flawed in thinking that you need to always have the guy take the last second shot. Now, the point of this video is not for me to get into a LeBron versus Kobe versus Jordan comparison. I wanted to point out Phil Jackson's quotes and essentially say that Phil Jackson has always seen the flaws of Kobe Bryant. I remember a few years ago saying that he wanted Kobe Bryant to try and play more like LeBron James, defer a little bit more, work a little bit more on assists and rebounding. And I understand that LeBron James physically is a little bit more gifted than Kobe Bryant is, but I think that Kobe Bryant always had the capabilities in his NBA career to be a better passer than he's been. He could have been a much better defender over the last 2 to 3 years, and I think that he's taken plays off and been lazy defensively. That's what I've seen out there on the court. So let me know what you guys think about these Phil Jackson quotes. I think they're interesting. I think that Phil Jackson, I understand, first of all, why Kobe Bryant never changed his style, because Kobe Bryant has won 5 NBA titles. He's won an MVP. He's been a tremendous player. He's been one of the top 10 or 15 guys to ever step on a basketball court. I understand totally why Kobe's never changed his style, but I also do understand that Phil Jackson is a basketball genius. Either him or Red Auerbach, the greatest coach in NBA history. And when I hear Phil Jackson, he's someone that has always been brutally honest, and in this case I think that he was brutally honest with this quote, and it was not to slay Kobe, but I think he feels in a lot of sense that he's been a part of making Kobe Bryant who he is, but he was also a part of helping Michael Jordan. While he wasn't Michael Jordan's first coach in Chicago, he was there for the 6 NBA titles, and he was a part of Michael Jordan achieving great things. Michael Jordan was the first 6 rings in his career, or in Phil Jackson's career, I should say, his coaching career, and he kind of has a soft spot in his heart for Michael Jordan and understands that Michael's still the best player that's ever played this game. Kobe Bryant, as an overall player, is not probably on the level of Michael Jordan, and I think he feels bothered sometimes that people forget that people forget just how good Michael Jordan was, and I think that is why he brings out these quotes. We all know that Phil Jackson has made this vocal before that he thinks Michael Jordan was a better player than Kobe Bryant, and he did certain things differently than how Kobe Bryant has done them. And again, it's not a shot at Kobe Bryant, it's putting things into perspective. And when we see the coach that has coached both of them, has been there for every single NBA title that either of them won, come out and say this, I think it's telling and it's interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit me up on Twitter at CashKelly_TRST. Shout out to King James Gospel and the LA Times for providing those quotes. I'm Tim Kelly, section215.com. Check that out. Facebook.com/TheRealSportsTalk. See you guys next time.